Boys, so in today's video, I'm going to be going through the comments and answering them live and just, giving the value that's needed from any questions. I find this maybe a more productive way rather than typing it out individually. You get more of it. I can give more detail and insight and a touch to it. So the first one, this is not a direct question, but he makes a good point. In the sense, if you're starting as an ectomorph style body type, which is essentially where I started from. If you've seen my old physique, you could probably find, there's probably a thumbnail image of what I used to look like. Absolutely, here we go. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. It's tough. It is really, really tough, okay, when you're starting as an ectomorph style body type. And honestly, there are two factors to focus on. And I'm really going to cut a lot of the noise because for the longest of time, I thought, well, I can't really get big because I'm an ectomorph. I tried and I tried and I tried. I lifted, and I was just doing the wrong thing. So in your situation, the way you're going to honestly get bigger is, I know this is going to sound really obvious, but you're going to set your workout routine. You're going to start to follow it. You're going to make sure every time you train, you beat whatever you did the time before. And then from there, you're going to always supplement more food. Now, the way I want you to approach this, don't just think huge surplus, like eat whatever you want, because you will burn yourself out from the ability to stay in and live in the surplus. The way you're going to set it is, honestly, if you're just starting out now, set your calories to maintenance, track your scale weight for a week. Now, one of two things will happen. It'll either go up or it'll go down, or in a rarity, it'll stay exactly the same. Whatever information you get is going to determine your next move. If it went up and your numbers in the gym are increasing, then you can also hold where you are because your numbers are increasing, right? And the only way you're going to get bigger from a muscle standpoint is by your numbers increasing in the gym. Now, let's say they didn't. Let's say the numbers didn't really increase and the scale weight stayed flat. That is a green light to add 50 grams of carbs, 200 calories. Do that every time this starts to happen. Now, you've got to live in the bulk. So let's think, how can we make this as easy as possible for ourselves? Your go-to at this point is rice. Add more rice to the diet. It's very, very easy to get in. It digests well. It literally runs through you, okay? So we're going to need foods that are higher on the GI scale. Dates could be another good one. If you're running with cereal as a pre-gym, that's another easy one as well. And what you want to do is you want to look after your GI in the sense that go higher on the GI, go for bread, go for white potato, go for rice, because they're not going to bloat you out and they're not going to stodge you up. Whereas if you start going, just douse it in olive oil, just add more eggs, just add more peanut butters. Although it seems smart because technically it's a lower volume of food, that shit takes ages to digest. And you don't want... Apologies, boys. Next door was banging and it was really, really starting to annoy me. So yeah, you are... The thing is with fats, they're good, but they will slow down digestion and they'll make you feel sluggish. Although they do seem a good idea, keep that tool in your toolbox for the longest period of time. Otherwise, you're going to suffer when you try and increase it. You're going to feel stodgy and you're not going to enjoy it. So next question, he said, how important are 10K steps even if you stay in a calorie deficit without them? One thing I will say with these is if you can create the deficit through output, you can keep food higher. If you can keep food higher, you can drive gym floor performance. Gym floor performance is the only way you will build and retain tissue whilst in a calorie deficit. For his response, though, he doesn't have that much time. So what I would say in this situation is do something with more intent, i.e. something at more intensity. If you haven't got time to do 10K steps, which 6K will take you about an hour, so you're looking at maybe an hour 40 to do 10K, just jump on the Stairmaster. Work out the equivalent of your weight per 1,000 steps, which you'll be able to get that answer on the internet, and work out then how many calories you burn every, within a minute on a Stairmaster, for example. That's the most extreme version of cardio that's technically non-impact. And that will give you a response, and then you'll be able to do that, maintain the deficit, but also maintain a good amount of a surplus. Next guy said, thanks Tom, being naturally skinny guy, how can I grow my calves, forearms and traps? They just don't grow. I can relate in a weird way. If you're a natural, naturally your traps aren't going to be that big. If you're a similar skinny guy to me, your calves might not be that big, and also forearms may not be that big either. I always found that myself. In response to him, I asked him what sort of volume is he doing. Calves, he does 10 sets a week on the leg press. I'm guessing he means the calf press using the leg press machine. Go slow with the full stretch. Forearms, I don't train as I put them on pull day. Use them. Traps, I don't do loads. I do cable shrugs. Thanks, mate. So this is what I would say. The reason why you think they don't grow is they just don't get that much attention in the program because they're just... And most programs don't say, and we're going to train forearms today, and you're going to do calves. What I've found is if you want to really grow an area, you have to train it like you would train your chest. And let's be honest, most of you motherfuckers are doing about 16 sets for chest a week. And they're all small areas where you can absolutely abuse, bar your traps. What I do for traps, and they've grown fairly okay over the past, let's say about 4 months or so, I'll do 3 sets on pull day, 3 sets on the chest and back day, and that's cable shrugs, 2 sets of 12 to 15 and a back off of 15 to 20, and that has been enough for me to get them to grow. If I really wanted to grow my forearms, they'd be going in on arm day. They'd have 2 exercises on arm day. That's going to give you 6 sets on one day, 12 sets on the adding the 2 together. And high volume on those. If I was really adamant to grow my calves, I'd be doing exactly the same. I'd be pushing it, starting with 12 sets, 6 across 2 days, and I'd probably look to push that even more just by adding an extra set on each one to then towards 16. If you're serious about those areas of your body and they generally are lagging, give them the attention they need. I feel like, obviously, as he said there, most people think I've got small forearms, but don't actually train their forearms. I think the closest you'll get to forearm training is hammer curls, which is probably in most of your programs. Again, really appreciate the love from some of these comments. It honestly, it makes my day when I read stuff like this. Let's have a look for the next one. So this guy asked, so I really like the videos when you go over the practice, foods, training splits as such. So normally what he means there is when we do a result, I'll go through, this is the training split we used, this is the result we used, this is how we got it, this is the nutrition, etc., etc. He then asks, can you make a video where you compare the different training splits to each other? When people should make the leap from a 3-day full body to a 4 times push-pull twice per week. Obviously everyone is different, but maybe a comparison of your clients' training splits will be an interesting topic which yields the best results. For sure, I will give you that information right now. So, when it comes to training, it's going to depend on you as the individual. Now, the first thing you would ask yourself is, how long have you been training? And if the answer is, I'm brand new, 3 days worth of training is enough dosage of stimulus for you to grow. Don't jump to 4 just yet, because you want to keep that tool in your top left pocket and you want to play it when the time is necessary. Likewise, if you're very detrained, you could get away with a 3-day split. And then the final answer would be if you're really fucking busy. Now, what's a 3-day split going to look like? It's going to be full body. You got 2 options. You could do full body A, full body B. It's going to look like leg press, pull down, hamstring curl, incline press. Notice how it's like lower push, upper pull, lower pull, upper push, lateral raises for shoulders, and then 2 for arms. And then on the sister session, it's the same. Now, if you're a guy, a better way you could do this, I would say, is 2 upper, 1 lower. And that would work really well as well. Now, you would make the leap from the 2 if A, you can train 4 times per week, and B, you've rinsed and repeated this for 6 months. Then you'll be ready to make the leap. And what that's going to look like is everything on the front of the body and then everything on the back of the body. So, essentially chest, quads, delts, and I know triceps is technically on the back of your body, but you use it in a push, and then I'll pull everything on the back of the body, and obviously the biceps. And then from there, after about a year's worth, and if you can do 5, I would only do 5, and maybe even 18 months would be the sweet spot for this. Then push it to a 5-day split. The split I run for myself and all majority of people are within the Gorilla Platoon. Push-pull legs, then a rest day, chest and back, delts and arms. Now that's not perfect for everyone. I've got a guy that needs more attention to the quads, the hamstrings, and also to the torso area rather than the arms, where there's most people, or me especially, are the opposite. So that's why delts and arms get their own day. He needs a secondary leg day. and then that will capture everything in there. So that's how and when to change your training split, and then what I do for those training splits as well. Let's go back to the comments and obviously give that a like. Oh, bloody hell. We don't want to be watching a video. So this guy makes a good question when speaking about abs and ab training, where he mentioned that I don't speak about it enough. One thing I will say is when it comes to training your abs, do you progressively overload it? Of course. But the way I would start first is, I think the execution is missing quite heavily when it comes to training your abs. And what I'm going to do is actually just jump to the way I get the guys to train their abs. And I've made a short, so you can go watch this as well in your own time. Let's just make sure that's on quiet. So the way you're going to train your abs is sat on a decline bench. Now, what people will do when they are on this machine is they'll just hinge up and down from their hips. So their abs aren't actually changing in length. They are still working the same way though a plank would work. Notice how they just sit up and they sit down. Then from there, you want to adjust this. So how you're going to get around this is you're going to go down to the bottom and you're going to think, I need to curl my spine, my lumbar spine. It's the only time you want to flex the spine. And that's the function of the rectus abdominis. Flex the abdomen, bring the top two abs against the bottom two abs. So that's the way you're going to approach this. Sit it on a decline and then curl yourself up. Now, you progressively increase this by starting flat, changing the angle, changing the angle, changing the angle till this is really deep. And then once that is really easy, the progression to this exercise is to flip it on its head. So your legs weigh a lot more than your upper body will. So you can get a bench and you would almost lie yourself down on here. Obviously, it would need to be an actual functioning like normal bench you would press on. And you would grab the back of it and you would then bring your legs up towards your chin with bend. Make sure there's a bend at the knees. But the point I'm making is you don't need to move from the hip. The hip joint's going to stay fixed. It doesn't matter whether you're moving your top to your bottom or your bottom up towards your top. You're not going to move from the hip joint. You're going to flex the spine. You're going to take the top abs towards the bottom abs and you're going to crunch there. Another good exercise I do with clients is if you get a TRX, put your feet through, you're in the press-up position, then you're going to breathe out, you're going to bring your knees all the way up towards your chin, and that will work the abs very well as well. Now let's go back into the comments and see who we can help here. So this guy asked me, how am I calculating maintenance calories? What formula is this? Did you start selling this already? And he's referring to the calorie calculator I created, but it's from the Catch McCarday formula. Now, why his is good is it works out body fat percentage and puts that in there. How I work out body fat percentage, and I'll just give you a quick insight. So this is the document he's referring to, and essentially you'd find out your scale weight by standing on a scale. So you're 95 kg. You take a photo of yourself from the front. You're going to compare it to the guide you can see here. You might be a bit softer than 20, not quite 25. So you're coming in the space of 23. And again, is this an estimate? Absolutely. Are they all an estimate? Absolutely. Unless we diced you into sections and put fat stores on one scale and everything else on the other, you never truly know how much you're carrying. That's then going to give you a lean mass, which is important. It's going to give you RMR 1950 for this guy in his example. You then adjust and work out their activity level relative to, and you just ask yourself the question, which category do you fill in? And then the two of these will get times together to give you a maintenance, and then relative to the goal is then relative to how you're going to adjust and move forward. It depends on the body fat and then how much fat you're carrying, which I've done details of videos, but essentially, if you're anywhere from 20 to 17, just sit yourself below maintenance here. Anywhere from 20 coming up to 25, sit yourself 0.5. If you're coming in 30% body fat, then you're going to go 0.7. It's then going to spit out your macros. And again, that's just the start. But you always want to keep food as high as you can, as long as you can. So in many ways, I'd actually play it safe on a 0.5. Food is high. We're going to burn through it through activity, turn you into a fucking fit athlete. And that's the way I approach setting people up. Let's have a look. Answering your questions once again. Really do appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. Here we go. This may be the last one we do. No, that's one. Let's go up and look a little bit lower. So this is going to be a good question. A lot of info, a big question going down, so he's going to get the goods and we're going to respond to it. Hey bro, would you say that one should take every set to failure? I usually do 4 sets per exercise and only go to failure on the last one. If I do it on the first one, my subsequent 3 sets tend to suck because of the amount of time I need to fully recover from all-out failure. Set is longer than I can afford to take as a break between sets. I dislike not going all out on every set, but it makes sense for me. It makes sense to me feel like a quitter and I'm leaving gains on the table. So I was wondering if there's a smart workaround problem. Genuinely, I think some of these come down to cardiovascular fitness when I'm trying to increase steps. I also do HIIT, increase VO2, still on the cut. I'm avoiding high intensity cardio for now. I start bulking again. I'm unsure of the muscle. Where says break session across the week, what you say. Right, so he's doing 4 sets. He's going to failure on the last one. In this instance, he was in a cut. So I wouldn't structure it like that. I would train to failure on every set because every set needs to be deliberate, purposeful, and get something out of it. If you're training not quite to failure, you're still burning fuel. You're still burning glycogen. And if you're doing 4 sets, that's a lot of volume that's being worked where you're not actually moving the needle as such. You're not growing new tissue or even giving the old tissue that could do the very top set a reason to stay on your bones. So the way I would approach this, and it depends on the exercise, if it's an exercise that's not stable, so a barbell or a dumbbell, I'd be doing 2 sets, a top set of 6 to 10, fucking send it like your life depends on it, and then you're going to drop the load by 20%. That will then come in line with the fatigue you've accumulated across that set, still take 2 minutes to 3 minutes for rest, and then you're going to do that set where you'll probably get in around the space of 12 to 15. And that's how I'd approach it. Now, if it's a machined exercise, it comes with stability. So from there, what you can do is you can do 2 back-off sets, because you're not consuming energy to stabilize, therefore it can be focused on the working muscle. And that's the way I would approach it. I wouldn't be doing 4. I don't program 4 sets. For that reason, people they're in the gym for the sake of it. They're still working. They're still accrued in volume. They're still training. Is it wrong? Not completely. It's not completely wrong. And I'm not saying my way's better. I'm just saying in a cut, it's definitely more efficient. Because his way, you're going to accumulate a shit ton of fatigue, especially if you're in a cut and you're burning through a lot of volume. It doesn't need to be that way. It wants to be raw intensity, give the muscle a reason to stay on your bones, and then do the back off set and repeat. And then that way you'll still be able to progress and you shouldn't burn out as quick. Because also he said, I'm doing HIIT to increase my VO2 max, but I'm still on a cut. So I'm avoiding high intensity cardio for now. So in that instance, he's saying he doesn't want to do HIIT, which makes sense. But then in a weird way, he wants to avoid high intensity cardio because it's quite fatiguing, but what he's doing would already be fatiguing. So that's my response to that question, which is a very good one, to be fair. And I think a lot of people are doing 4 sets. For the longest of time, I thought more was better. So I also used to do that many sets. Let's do one more and then we'll wrap up there. Let's try and find a question. You motherfucker. This guy absolutely abused me for how I looked on the left-hand photo. Hey, look. This is how we come out the womb. It is what it is. Let's see. Any more questions? Here we go. This is a great question. This is an absolute great question. Given the time to bulk then cut, couldn't the same be accomplished with the lean bulk, where you just eat in a slight surplus and remain lean throughout the whole process? Now, I believe everyone starts out with the intention to do that, and I think you absolutely should start out with the intention to do that. However, the only reason you need to increase food is because your progression in the gym has started to stall, meaning the amount of energy demand you need is the same as what you're putting in, therefore you're not able to progress, and also you're not able to grow in terms of scale weight either. So that's the green light then to add 50 grams of carbs, 200 calories to the diet. The issue with that is if you want to be serious about building muscle, you're going to need to gain for like 9 months. Realistically, you're going to have to commit to it for 9 months, and just naturally, you're going to end up. How many times is that going to accrue over the course of 9 months? How many times are you going to have to add 50 grams of carbs, 200 calories over the course of a lot, right? You are going to end up on a lot of food by the end. So just by the nature of the gaining phase, you're going to accumulate a lot of food. You're going to accumulate body fat, of course you are, and then you're going to need to cut back down. The only way you could really do it is honestly just sitting at maintenance, but I've tried it for many years and it didn't work for me. If you're a small ectomorph style guy, you need to just commit to the bulk. I did a video on this yesterday. You honestly just need to become a thicker, bigger human being. We cannot be building from a pebble. We have to turn you into a boulder and then chisel away at that. The only exceptions I'll say to this is if you're naturally... You get people where their issue is they just put on body fat too quickly, but they can build muscle easier. I'm not that guy. Maybe you are. If you are, then absolutely just sit yourself at maintenance, and I still imagine you'll grow quite well. I've not actually coached someone through that just yet, so I can't give you that much information, but I've got friends that has kind of worked for them. For the most of you, though, the issue is you're just small. You need to live and breathe in the surplus. And I'm a walking advocate of that myself. So, great questions. Fire them in. I will get back to them. Make them as detailed as you can about your specific situation. Again, boys, I like videos like this because I didn't have to think of the title. You came to me with all the information. I get to help you. You help me. And we all fucking win at the end of the day. So thanks for watching. If you got your questions, of course, drop them in. If you like the channel, subscribe. And we will see you tomorrow.